Hi guys, it's Nancy and I'm here for another fairy stamper video, and I'm going to be making a background with pan pastels, and we're going to be incorporating these fairy hug stamps. So the first one is FHS 067, which is this floral canoe. We have a FHS 041, which is Azalea. We have FHS 026, which is the mini frog. And FHS 071, which are the bulrushes, also known as cattails to me. All right, so first thing we need to do is make our background. And with our background, it's going to be really simple. I'm just going to use some pan pastels. So I'm going to start with the ground right in front of me, which is going to be this little area right here. And I'm just going to grab a small sponge. If you've never used pan pastels, they're just a really rich and creamy, high pigmented chalk. I don't even like calling it a chalk because it goes down so smooth and it blends so easy that it doesn't feel like chalk. It almost feels like a smooth, creamy, instant dry paint. And I'm just using some different color dark greens in here, just to make the ground right in front of me. Okay, so that's pretty simple. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I have this piece of plastic, which is just stencil, leftover stencil material. And I'm going to put a line about halfway, well, a third of the way up the card here. And I'm going to go into my blues. And I'm just going to add some turquoise and some phthalo blue into here, which will end up being our water. Now, if I go into my green, it's not a big deal. They blend very nicely, so I can just bring some of that green back up. Okay? All right, so we have a nice clean horizon there. I'm just going to wipe my stencil, and all I'm using is just a microfiber rag just to wipe. Nothing super special here. All right, then I'm going to go into my warmer colors. So that was my cool colors, using some greens and blues. And now I'm going to bring in some red, orange, and yellow. And before I bring those in, I am going to mask off a little area for my sun. And I'm just going to mask off right here. That's just a little circle Post-it tape. And then I'm going to reuse my little stencil mask here and cover up my blue area because I don't want green water. And I'm going to go into my yellow, and I believe this is called Dairy Lied Yellow, or Dairy Lied Yellow, which is a nice bright yellow. And this is all I'm going to do, is just draw streaks of lines across. If you want it lighter, you can be lighter. If you want more, you can always add more. Okay, then I'm going to go in and add some orange, which is just called orange. Blend that into my yellow a little bit and move it upwards. And you can see they blend very nicely. And then I'm going to add some red. The red is very bright, so I'm just going to put that at the top, go back to my orange sponge, blend that orange and red together. And that's it for my scene. Just going to wipe my stencil off and move that aside. And I am done with my pan pastels. That was very easy to do. Okay, so now is the fun part. We're going to do some stamping. I'm going to take my stencil off as soon as I can find my tweezers. As my father would say, if they had teeth, they would have bit me. Okay, and then we have our perfect little sunset there, and I can wipe off some of that excess pan pastel away from my sun. And if you wanted to, you can go in with a pencil eraser or soft eraser And I'm just going to erase some of this blue just to give it a little bit of highlight where it looks like that moon is kind of cascading into the water or sun, whatever it is. Okay, very simple. Okay, so now we're going to make this a 1-layer stamped card because I'm lazy and I don't like stamping and cutting things out. So we're going to bring in our mini Misty, a little piece of sticky grid in there. Because these are clear photopolymer stamps, we have our little mouse pad or our little foam in there, and I'm just going to tuck this into the bottom left corner here, and I'm going to put my magnet at the top there. And I'm going to start with my boat. Or canoe. And to put it pretty much in the middle. Right there. Oh, my magnet's going to interfere. Let me move my magnet over here. Here we go. Okay, and these stamps are sticky, so I want to make sure that I'm always pushing this down and into the left corner. I'm going to use my VersaFine Clair ink to ink up my stamp. Nocturne, which is really black. And I want a really solid image, so I'm going to probably do 2 inkings. And I see how my ink pad or my foam pad lifted up. So again, I want to push this down and make sure that I'm always in this corner. Actually, that came out pretty good. I'm not going to risk stamping that again. So we're going to clean up our stamp and move on to our fairy. But before we do our fairy, I want to mask the bottom of the boat because she has little feet that are hanging out, and I want it to look like she's in the boat. So we're just going to mask very easily the boat. And we're just going to take a little bit of tape, Post-it tape. I want to dry this real quick because I don't want the Post-it tape to lift any of my ink. And I'm just going to lip the bottom lip of the boat here, the edge. That is what I'm going to mask just right here so that it looks like she's actually sitting in the boat. And I'm going to add our little Azalea fairy. And when I set her down, I want her bottom at the bottom of the boat, and her feet should look like they are in the boat. It should look like she's sitting in the boat, relaxing. Her wings are hanging out, which is fine. But her feet are on the mast area. Looks like she's just going, she just went for an evening, a little evening boat ride. I'm going to go back in with the VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. I like this ink because it's super black, but any ink will work. Doesn't have to be any particular ink. You can stamp right over pan pastels. All right, now I see that one part of her wing is not stamping. It's on the masking paper, so I'm going to cut that little corner of the masking paper because I do want her wings to show. So very carefully, just that little edge there. And trim that off, okay. All right, and we're gonna ink her up and stamp her again. Make sure my Misty is in the proper place. There we go. Better imprint with her wings now. Okay, she looks like she is in the boat. And again, because it's pigment ink, it does take an extra second to dry, so you just want to make sure you don't touch it or it will smear. All right, so now I can lift the mask off, and we should have, yes, she is in the boat, folks. All right, so then the next part is just stamping the little areas in the grass there, which is just the frog and the bulrushes. So I'm going to take this off of here, and I'm just going to hand stamp those. Look at how pretty she is already. Cute. Okay, so now, because I'm straight stamping these, I am going to grab just a piece of fun foam to put underneath my card, so that way I have a little bit of give. So when I stamp down here, there's a little bit of give so that I don't have to worry about not getting a good impression. I think I'm going to bring in some dark green here for the frog and the bulrushes. This is VersaFine Claire's Shady Lane. Okay, that looks good. And then we have our little frog, and I will stamp him in Rainforest. There we go. And then that's it. If you wanted to put a sentiment on here, you could very easily put a sentiment on here. But I think it's a nice, peaceful scene. At this point, I would spray it with some fixative. You can use hairspray or you can use Krylon clear spray, but you want to use a fixative when you're done with everything. If you're going to do a sentiment, now is the time to do the sentiment. And what the spray will do is lock the pan pastels and the ink and everything into place. If you wanted to add a little bit of extra finesse, you could go in and add some sparkle pen to her wings. Not going to hurt anything because they're nice and sheer. You could even stamp them on vellum, cut them out and put them in place there. I'm going to grab my gel pens. And in typical Nancy fashion, add some gel pen accents here. Add a little shimmer to the moon as well. Can add a little bit to the water. And a little bit of green to the foliage in the boat. Very natural, composed boat here. All organic. And I'm just following the lines that are already drawn in by the artist. Just coloring it in, tracing it. I really don't have to add too much because it's already beautiful as it is. And there we have our little sunset boat ride with Azalea. If you have any questions, you can post them down below. I will link everything I used down in the description. Again, you can purchase these stamps over at Fairy Stamper. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It's very easy to do. Thanks for watching and keep on stamping. Bye-bye.